Hello and good morning. This is Dr. Yonette. I am so happy to be with you again another day. And today I want to talk to the babies that are a little older, the 6 month old babies. So we're going to put Dominic and AJ and Jane and Mary to bed for a little bit and talk with Samantha and Harry and Jessica, those babies who have touched the mid-year mark. Now you're 6 months old. And all before this time, you have been on breast milk because that's the recommendation. Feeding your baby on breast milk until he or she is 6 months old. It's the best option for your baby, according to the Academy of Pediatrics. And I want you to know today that the Academy also recommends that at 6 months old, your baby is old enough to start eating solid foods. So by the time he or she turns 7 to 8 months old, your child can have a variety of foods from a variety of food groups, from different food groups. And these food groups would include infant cereals, meats, if you want to introduce your child to meats. For us, we never gave our son any meat. We found other forms of proteins so that he can get those nutrients that he needed. But you need to make sure that you are using the right combination of foods. You want to introduce your child to fruits. Of course, fruits, and vegetables are very, very important. And then you want to add grains and some yogurt and cheese again if you are going the meat way, and so much more. So a variety of foods would be perfect for your child at 6 months old. So you may be asking, how should I introduce my child to foods? Now, let's talk about this because parents often come and complain that their children don't like to eat certain foods. And as an occupational therapist, I always have to counsel them to be patient. So this is what you want to do. You want to introduce one single food, one single ingredient food for the first time or at the first time. Okay, so the food must have only one ingredient. It must be like only fruit or only vegetables, but only one of them. You don't want to have a combination of rice and meat and beans. It must be one single ingredient food. That's the first thing you're going to do. And this is going to help your child to really process the food. You're also going to be able to address whether your child would have any food allergies. So if your child has a food allergy and you're giving him a food that only has one item, you would know specifically what that item is that your child is allergic to. And you want to wait. You want to wait between 3 to 5 days before you introduce a new food to your child. 3 to 5 days. So we started today with green beans or green peas. We give the child the green peas and we wait 3 to 5 days before we introduce another food. Now, your child will be on the way to eating and enjoying lots and lots of new foods. So be excited during this time. Make sure eating time is a pleasant, relaxing, stress-free time. You want to also make sure that when you introduce these foods, you are journaling and making sure that there are not foods that are potentially allergenic to your child. So here are some foods that your child might be allergic to, and they may include cow's milk or products that are made from cow's milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soy, and sesame. So, for some children, drinking cow's milk or fortified soy beverages is not recommended. And I said some, but I should say all. Do not give your child at this age cow's milk or fortified soy beverages. Not until your child is older than 12 months of age. But other cow's milk products, such as yogurt, can be introduced before 12 months of age. Now, if your child has severe, listen to this, severe eczema and or egg allergies, you want to talk to your child's doctor or nurse about when and how to safely introduce foods with peanuts. A lot of children in schools today have peanut allergies or tree nut allergies. And you want to be careful as you are introducing new foods to your child, and be vigilant, not just be careful, be vigilant. From your journaling, you would see what these allergies are, and then you want to speak to your doctor, particularly for peanut allergies, because a lot of foods that we are not even aware of, we haven't been consistently reading the labels of foods that we put into our bodies. But if you stop and read the labels, a lot of foods have peanuts. And so you want to make sure that your pediatrician is working with you through this process so you're giving your child the best options. Now, you want to prepare foods for your child to eat. How do you do that? At first, it's easy for your child to eat foods that are mashed, pureed, or strained and very smooth in texture. So here we're looking at texture. And texture plays a very important role in food, in eating of food, because you remember you're now introducing your child to a texture that he or she has not been familiar with. So you want to do it, have a smooth texture in the food you give the child. From breast milk, which was like just liquid that just rolled down the throat, you're moving to a textured food and you want it to be smooth. It can take some time for your child to adjust to new food textures. So we are starting with that smooth texture. If you mash it, it's going to be smooth. If you puree it, it's going to be smooth. And if you strain it, you're going to have that smooth texture. Your child, when you introduce the solid food, you may notice that he or she is coughing or gagging or spitting up. But as your baby begins to develop those oral skills, the thicker and the lumpier foods can be introduced, and you would have less of the gagging and spitting and the coughing. Some foods really, though, are potentially choking hazards. So it is important for you to feed your child foods that are the right texture for his or her development. So how do you prevent choking? Prepare foods that can be easily dissolved in saliva and do not require chewing, because of course your child may have one or two teeth in his or her mouth, but he is not yet, or she is not yet able to do that chewing process, which develops a little later. So you want to make sure that the food is easy to dissolve in the saliva of your baby's mouth. And then when you're feeding your child, make sure you are feeding Emily using small portions and encouraging your baby to eat slowly. Always watch while your child is eating. Never leave your child unsupervised. So here are some tips in preparing foods for your child. And today's presentation is based on information from the CDC, for the Center for Disease Control. Now, here are some tips for preparing foods. One, you need to mix cereals and mashed cooked grains with breast milk, formula, or water to make it smooth and easy for your baby to swallow. So, you're mixing the cereals with breast milk or formula or water. Cereals, mashed grains, mashed cooked grains must be used with breast milk, water, or formula. Two, mashed or puree vegetables, fruits, and other foods until they are smooth. Let me say that again. You need to mash or puree vegetables until they are smooth. Vegetables or fruits, you got to make sure it gets into that smooth texture. Now, hard fruits and vegetables like apples and carrots usually should be cooked so that they can be easily mashed or pureed. Okay? Do not give the baby carrots or apples or any of those hard foods that are not cooked. You must cook hard foods. You need to cook these foods until, this is number 4, cook those hard foods until they are soft and you can mash them with a fork. You Number 5, you want to remove all fat, all skin, all bones from poultry or meat and fish before you cook them. Okay? That wasn't a concern for me because like I said earlier, we didn't do any products. We raised our child to be a vegetarian and then later on to be a vegan. Now you want to also, this is number 6, remove seeds, hard pits from fruits, and then cut the fruit into small pieces. Number 7, cut soft food into small pieces or thin slices. And you want to cut cylindrical foods like hot dogs, sausages, string cheese into short, thin strips instead of the round pieces because they can get stuck in the airway. So you want to strip your hot dogs and your sausages and cheese, make it into strips so it doesn't get stuck in the airway. So we're like around number 9. You want to cut spherical foods like grapes and cherries and berries and tomatoes into small pieces. Do not give your child the whole food. And then finally, you want to cook and finely grind and mash whole grain kernels of wheat, barley, rice, and other grains. So you're going to cook and then grind or mash them so that your baby is able to digest those foods or to get those foods down his or her throat. Now, it's a beautiful time. It's really a beautiful time when you are ready to introduce foods, solid foods to your baby. And you want to make sure that before you introduce these solid foods to your baby, you are following certain guidelines. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendation, children should be introduced to breast milk for the first 6 months of their lives. Okay? 6 months of their lives. I'm going to say this repeatedly. But when you are ready to introduce your child to solid foods, and this is about 6 months after 7 months of age, your child should be doing these particular actions, should be able to do these. Your child should be able to sit up alone without support. 2, your child should be able to control his head and the neck. 3, your child should be able to open the mouth when food is offered. You don't have to pry the spoon or the fork into the mouth. And basically, generally, we start with a spoon. Your child should be able to swallow, number 4, swallow food rather than push it to the back, out of, let me say this again. Your child swallows food rather than pushes it back out onto the chin. So when you put that food in the child's mouth, it must go, into the mouth and down the throat rather than you seeing it coming right back out to the lips and falling down the chin. And then you want number 5 to bring, the child should be able to bring objects to his or her mouth. There are toys that your child plays with, and those objects the child should be able to hold the toy and bring it right into the mouth. And then number 6, their child should try to grasp other objects. Again, that same object that he brings to his mouth, the child should be able to grasp it. And also food, little finger foods, your child should be able to grasp it. And then finally, you want the child to be able to transfer food from the front of the mouth, using the tongue, to the back of the mouth to be able to swallow the food. So make sure your child is ready before you introduce the solid foods. Your doctor may say, okay, your child is 6 months old. Now it's time to introduce solid food. But be careful that he or she is able to do these seven skills that I mentioned earlier. It's such a great time, a great and exciting time as your baby grows and develops, and he or she is now able to eat solid foods. There is so much excitement in the family, but you want to make sure you're introducing your child to solid foods that are healthy, solid foods that are well prepared, and solid foods that your child is able to eat. This is Dr. Yonette speaking with you this morning on introducing solid foods to your baby. Remember to take care of baby and take care of you. Have a happy feeding day.